Hedonic adaptation is such a weird concept. By hedonic adaptation, it is the fact that anything in our life, we get used to it. Any form of happiness or negativity we experience, we always get back to baseline. We always forget about it and it becomes a new norm. While doing these dailies and actions over the past few months, I've been feeling this even more so with every single thing in my life. Whenever I get a little bit discomfort, I remember that I will get used to this. Your body is a getting used to machine. We are designed to adapt and overcome any type of obstacle we ever encounter. Even writing my journal, when I was writing my little notebook, there was a part of me that was annoyed that I wrote over the D twice. And then I looked at it and I was thinking, I'll get used to that, and that will become a happy little accident. But yeah, you'll get used to it and it'll just become the new norm. I just want to talk about hedonic adaptation and how it applies to our life with doing workouts or organizing or eating healthier. We adapt over time, like our taste buds. Have you ever tried a specific food when you were younger and you hated it? Me, for example, mushrooms or tomatoes, like raw tomatoes, like slicing them up. Now I like them. I realize everything is changing. Hedonic adaptation, everything is changing, and I will get used to this. So realizing if you have a resistance towards something, deep down, we have to remember we will get used to this. And that'll also go into factor the things we're chasing, like the car we want that's probably out of our price range, but we think we look cool in it or we think we'll drive really well in it. But then it'll become just an everyday car we drive every day, and it'll just become the baseline like we drove our first car. With anything like a new house, you'll get used to the new house and the new space to live in. So realizing every time we try to chase after something, we will get used to it. So making sure you're choosing goals, longevity goals that will bring you long-term happiness instead of these short-term spikes of dopamine that will then go back to baseline. And then you realize, why did I waste my time or spending all that money on that specific thing when it really didn't bring me joy? Why didn't I use my time wisely to something that can bring me long-term happiness over a longer period of time? It really gets me thinking every day, especially during this time I started these dailies. Hedonic adaptation, we get used to it. But remember, we will get used to it. Like getting used to the pain, but then we'll get used to the pleasure. Then we just are just neutral. And I feel like that's the Goldilocks effect, like not too hot, not too cold, just right. And becoming a neutral person, neutrality is the key to having long-term happiness with everything in your life. Realizing all the happiness I will achieve will not last, but all the negativity will not last, and I'll be in the baseline. But if you transform your life and do enforcing yourself through the pain, I realize there's a ricochet effect where that neutral baseline gets higher and your baseline is actually happier comparatively to when you were before doing those actions. The more times you do difficult things like working out, pursuing a passion that you love and you want to continue on, and practicing a skill or learning a new skill, and while you're uncomfortable, the happier you'll be because your baseline will get higher. But if you pursue short-term happiness like drugs, weed, alcohol, social media, porn, that baseline will get pushed down to even lower baseline, and that won't feel as good because everything is comparison. Everything is comparison to what your previous life was to what's now. So constantly putting yourself into the shit and going through it will actually bring you back up to neutral, but then it pushes you higher. This concept, it has to be experienced, because I'm assuming if you ever go on a social media binge, or you just do so much, you consume so much junk food, or you have a lot of drugs, alcohol, after that, you get a hangover, you get a stomach ache, you don't feel well, you sleep terribly, your baseline gets shoved down way lower. But then if you eat healthier, have green juices, eat a lot of vegetables and whole grains and legumes, you have a sense of well-being in your body, even though it can be a little difficult sometimes because those tempting, salty, sweet, processed foods look so good. But then when you're pushed through and you have it, your body will come right back up to neutral, but then it pushes it higher. That pushing up higher, I want everyone to realize, happens. And we have to remember, when the good things happen, they will push us back down, push our neutral state down. So let's getting back to it. Things are always changing, and we are adapting. Hedonic adaptation is crazy, and we want to be neutral all the time. Staying neutral, pushing through the shit, doing the hard shit, and avoiding those quick dopamine things, because in the long term, our neutral can always be raised, but it can always be pushed down. And we're always chasing, but making sure we're choosing the right thing to chase for long-term happiness, because everything we will get used to everything. So what do you want to get used to long term?